Joining us now is Dr. Mike Evans, founder and president of Friends of Zion. Shalom.
Shalom.
You're here in Jerusalem on the day of Trump's inauguration. One may ask, why aren't you back in D.C.? That's where the party is.
Not for me. This is Jerusalem, D.C., David's capital. And I was the point person for Donald Trump for Israel for 4 years. And I'll be that point person, I believe, for the next 4. And I want Donald Trump to be 100% committed to the state of Israel as he was last time.
You say that you want him to be so. And the question is, are you sure that he will be? Some say that he may be focused on domestic issues, and that's all.
No. Listen, you got Mike Huckabee on board. He chose Mike Huckabee to be the ambassador. And everybody knows Mike Huckabee's position of moral clarity. He's an evangelical. He actually also believes in sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. Donald Trump is going to be on board. One of the first things you're going to have with Donald Trump is you're going to have peace with Saudi Arabia. This is the crown jewel of the Abraham Accord. And he's going to bring that, and it's going to be very significant for the state of Israel. It happened this year.
Now let's relate to the hostage deal and those who claim that the pressure and threats from Trump weren't on Hamas, rather on Israel, on Netanyahu.
Well, they're absolutely wrong. It was pressure on Hamas, not on Netanyahu. Hamas would never have conceded without Donald Trump. They know Donald Trump means what he says. They'll have hell to pay. And by the way, don't think for a second that Donald Trump isn't going to be supportive of the state of Israel. Hamas are terrorists. They're liars. And if they break this deal, they'll have hell to pay with Donald Trump. He'll support the state of Israel in whatever they have to do.
You saw the pictures from Gaza. Hamas seems to be ruling in the streets. You could understand why people are concerned.
Listen, number one, it's very important to understand you can't kill Hamas fully with a bullet. Hamas is an ideology. You've killed probably better than 90% of the Hamas leadership. You've destroyed better than 90% of its infrastructure, its armaments, just like you did with Hezbollah, just like you did in Syria. So you've been incredibly victorious. But the swamp has to be drained. There has to be a complete re-education process against this ideology, and it's going to take time. It's probably going to take 3 to 5 years to accomplish this.
And the question is how Trump will relate to the next steps of this war and the goal of the destruction of Hamas.
Listen, you have to think about the Trump team. You've got this new Secretary of State who's incredibly pro-Israel. He attended my inauguration event that I hosted at the Waldorf, Rubio. The whole team is incredibly pro-Israel. You have 3 armies that have been destroyed by Israel, the armies of Iran. Now Iran is vulnerable, and Israel's going to still have to deal with the head of the snake, Iran. So personally, getting some distance with this Gaza situation is going to be very helpful for Israel because they're going to need the full support of the United States to deal with Iran.
And how about Iran? How do you look at this challenge?
Listen, he's a businessman, and he understands economics. Iran needs to be bankrupted. Israel can bankrupt Iran in 72 hours by bombing the oil refineries and cargoes. 85% of the population hate the mullahs, and it's 80 million people. The Shah was overthrown by an oil strike. Iran can collapse the economy of Israel, can collapse the economy of Iran, and there's no more funding for terror. No more funding. I think Donald Trump will support that as long as it's done quickly. And it'll change everything. Listen, the sanctions are not going to be enough. When Iran's got enough enriched uranium to make an atomic bomb, they just don't have the carrier yet. But they have to be stopped.
And it's not only Iran, it's also about the other countries who support Hamas, like Qatar.
Well, number one, they're going to have hell to pay with Donald Trump. Donald Trump will have zero tolerance for Qatar or any of these other countries funding Hamas. If they try it, he's going to put sanctions on them. He's going to make their life a living hell. So there's not going to be a flow of funds coming in. Secondly, the Egyptians can be enormously critically helpful. Sisi, I've met with him many times. He understands this world, and he can be enormously helpful to the state of Israel. Once the money stops, the weaponry stops, And once there's strong Sunnis coming in there, draining the swamp, things will begin to change.
And we're also seeing those trying to promote the PA these days in wake of the war against Hamas.
Yes, but I don't believe for a second that Donald Trump's going to allow the PA to have the purse. He knows they're corrupt. When he was president the last time, he cut them off because he knows about the corruption. So I think he'll establish a trust, but he won't allow the Palestinians to have control of that trust. So it's not corrupted and it's not used for weaponry.
Dr. Mike Evans, thank you very much.
You're welcome.